All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth live stream in Champlain College's Spring Series. My name is Veronica Lewis, one of the admissions counselors here at Champlain, and you are going to be listening to Next Steps. You're admitted. Now what? Know that this and all previous live streams can be found on the YouTube channel and on the admitted student pages on the Champlain website. Feel free to ask any questions in the live chat. We're going to do our best to answer all of them on air, so please ask away. I'll be hopping back on at the end of the live stream, but for now, let me turn it over to our student host, Michelle Garvey.
Good evening, admitted students. My name is Michelle Garvey. I am a student admissions intern here at Champlain, as well as an early childhood elementary education major with a minor in foreign languages. So tonight, as Veronica mentioned, we are going to be talking about your next steps as admitted students. So before we get started, I want to give my panelists of student leaders a chance to introduce themselves so you know who's going to answer your questions. So I would like my student panelists to just say your name, major, what role you play on campus, so our admitted students can get to know who they're listening to tonight. So Emily, go ahead and start us off.
Hello, I'm Emily. I'm an elementary education major. I'm a senior, and I am a resident assistant on campus. Is that all?
Hey guys, I'm Charlie. I'm a senior game programming major with a math minor, and I am an orientation leader.
Hi, I'm Haley. I'm a senior environmental policy major with a law minor, and I'm also a student ambassador on campus.
And I'm Dylan. I am a third-year computer networking and cybersecurity major with a minor in computer and digital forensics, and I'm a student ambassador on this campus.
Awesome. So that gives you an idea of who you're listening to tonight. And the goal of this conversation is to have your questions answered, as well as answer a few that I have prepared. So feel free to put some of your questions in the comments, and we'll be sure to answer those as we start going. But my goal is to help you make your decision a lot easier, and also make sure that you're coming into this decision excited, because we're excited to meet you. So coming to college is a really difficult thing, and we want to make sure that whether you know you're coming to Champlain or you're still trying to decide, you get your questions answered. So starting off with Emily again, I just want our students to share what you were most nervous about leading up to your first year at Champlain, and how that fear was eased or mollified. So Emily, go ahead and start.
Yeah, I would say my biggest fear coming into college was, the fear of the unknown, not knowing a ton of people, living in a place that wasn't my house with my parents. So that was really scary for me. I think the way I got over that was when I first moved in, I tried my hardest to kind of meet everyone in the building. I did my hardest to talk to my roommates, to make sure I was hanging out in the common space. And I think that really helped. I think there's a lot of anxiety about coming to campus and not really knowing anyone. It's such a new place, but it really helps if you kind of branch out in your residence hall. I think that really helped me my freshman year.
Yeah, I had kind of the same fear. I was really nervous about not making any friends and not meeting anyone that I wanted to hang out with. But what helped ease my fear was eating food with everyone, going to all of the dining hall for all the meals. I got to just talk to a bunch of people. I felt like I could sit down next to anyone and just start a conversation with them, and just talking to tons of people really helped me find my crew, and it was a really good way to make myself feel more comfortable.
Haley or Dylan, anything to share?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think just really being able to get on campus and do things with your roommates was really fun for me my first year. And I'll talk about it a little more later, but in your house, you really get to know the people that you live with. So I think you'll be fine. And having that smaller living environment in your hall your first year, I think will really ease into the college experience. Definitely.
And definitely, kind of like mentioned before, with everybody, it's just definitely the fear of the unknown when you first got here. And so recognizing you're not alone. Most of the students on this campus don't know anybody on their first day, but especially going to my admitted students day, I got to know some of the faces before coming to campus, and then met a ton more during orientation. And so once I kind of found my crew, as kind of Charlie said, I definitely thought it was that much better.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I think that I heard a lot of you were saying taking risks and taking charge of the opportunities that are given to you. Admitted Students Day is an amazing opportunity to come and meet some people and be involved in activities on campus and learn more about what Champlain is and what your life will be like when you come to life with us in the fall. So thinking about Admitted Students Day and this big event that's coming up the next 2 weekends, Charlie and Emily, how did your Admitted Students Day as an incoming first year help you with this big transition? Because we've talked about how it's a big fear about the unknown and it's a difficult thing to do. So how did your Admitted Students Day help you transition to Champlain and make your decision to come?
So for me, part of it was just coming to see the campus again, because I had come for a tour, obviously, and I really got to go back and kind of, without trying to learn about the school, just kind of see how I felt on campus. And if you haven't been up here, it's a beautiful, beautiful campus. And so being up here and meeting all these people that I could potentially be going to school with just really, really helped me just, again, ease my fear of the unknown, because it wasn't unknown anymore. And so when I went, I got to know both the campus and the people.
Yeah, I would say it's very similar for me too. I think Admitted Students Day is also like chock full of so many events going on campus. And so it's really easy to kind of hop right into those events and get really immersed with other people that are just like you, coming from, different parts of the country, going to school here, but not knowing anyone. I think like that really helped was, just jumping into those events. And then also you have a chance to kind of see the panel of your major. And I think that also really helped me too, because then I got to see other people that are interested in my major, and I got to meet like seniors and juniors and some other upperclassmen who are already going to school here. And I think that really helped me as well, just seeing kind of how my major played out for other people and seeing all the new people that were coming in also interested in my major. That way I got to meet some faces. I got to see some other people that could be my major. I think that also really helped, because then in the fall when I came to school, I recognized some people. And I think, I don't know, it was really helpful to see all of those people and then kind of recognize them coming in.
Awesome. Admitted Students Day is an amazing opportunity for you to understand what Champlain's all about and also take advantage of the students who are here, because current students are so excited to meet all of you. And we're really excited to help share our experiences to make your decision a little easier. So tonight we're really lucky because we have 2 current student ambassadors that will be helping us at Admitted Students Days within these next few weeks. So Haley, starting with Haley and then moving on to Dylan, from being on the other side of the event, how have you seen this event help and support incoming students or our admitted students crowd as a student ambassador?
Yeah, so I think the different thing about Admitted Students Day versus just coming to campus is it's not just an information session and a tour. You really, like Emily was saying, you're getting to meet all the different people in your major. There's way more interactive events, and you kind of get to see yourself with other admitted students and not just kind of in a tour group or, hanging out with your family and things like that. Even though you do get to do those things, I think it's way more interactive and it's really fun, and it really helps you, or it helped me, to picture myself on campus and doing the things that I would be doing with other students my age. So that I think really makes all the difference with the Admitted Students Day versus just visiting campus in general.
Definitely, Haley said it quite well, is, it's a little bit more than just your information session or your admitted session for even, that matter. And I think it's a good way to picture yourself on this campus and actually see, students in session, passionate about their various works, displaying everything going on around campus. And yeah, it's just a different vibe when it comes to your Admitted Students Day, and it's definitely an experience everybody has to go through.
Awesome. So some of our students who are watching now are wondering, what are some events that they can be looking forward to at the upcoming Admitted Students Day? So Haley and Dylan, what are some things that we have on the schedule? What might it look like? We have a Friday evening event and also one on Saturday. So what's the difference? What can they be expecting? Dylan, you can start off and then we can move on over to Haley.
All right, so at least on the I can't even think of what I'm trying to say. So on your Friday, you're gonna definitely have a lot of free food. That's both for families and students, so you don't have to worry about being left out in any way. But tons of free stuff, always going out. In the gym, we usually have like giant inflatable like obstacle courses and stuff like that. I know we've had bingo in the past, various raffles. It's just a lot of fun games going on Fridays. And then Saturdays is more we'll say school focused. So that's going to have your various information sessions, tours of the campus, other stuff like that.
Yeah, Dylan did a pretty good job on the overview. Saturday, you get to have the big welcome and hear from a couple students and, of course, people on campus, and then you'll get separated into your divisions. So that's a good start. And then you also get separated into your majors. So that for me was really helpful to see the other students that were interested in the programs that were also admitted, and then, get to talk to my program advisor and the director of the major and things like that. So you definitely have plenty of opportunities to get those detailed questions answered about academics, but also being on campus and then doing lots of fun things on Friday. So.
And are they with their parents the whole weekend, or how does that work? Haley or Dylan, whichever one.
No, you are not with your parents the whole weekend. I know Friday and Saturday there are opportunities to, mingle and meet some other students, some admitted students, and, take a little break from your families. But don't worry, you'll still have plenty of time to see the campus with them. So.
Awesome. Thank you. So we heard a little bit about what Admitted Students Day is going to be about Friday and Saturday. Friday is more social, where you're meeting people. There's going to be an event where you can go around and see what clubs and activities we have, with quick activities fair, to see what you're going to expect in terms of social life on campus. And like Dylan said, lots of free food, which is always a plus. So what if you can't make it? We have a Facebook page for the class of 2020. And Charlie or Emily, can you speak to, as an incoming freshman, how did the Facebook page help you meet other students who are coming in, find people who had similar interests? How can our incoming students be using the Facebook page as well?
I can go first. I know when I was an incoming freshman, there were on the Facebook page some spotlight people where I think the college interviewed some people more in depth and you could read about them. And I think that really helped. I remember someone was interviewed that was also an education major. And I remember messaging them and being like, hey, I'm also an education major. This is super cool. And we had a conversation. And that fall semester, I saw them in class and that was really cool. So I think if you're engaged on the Facebook group and you're reaching out, you're talking to people, you're messaging people, even if it's not in private messenger, even if it's right there on the Facebook, like in the comments, I think it's really helpful. I also think everyone on the Facebook page is really willing to meet new people. And so they're all really willing to talk to you. So the more engaged you are on the Facebook page, I think the more you get out of the Facebook page.
Yeah, I'm just going to pretty much echo everything Emily said, because really it's, again, for me, my biggest fear is the fear of the unknown. And that is chipping away at the unknown, because you talk to people on the Facebook page, you make connections, you start to meet people that are in your class, and you just get to know the year that you're going to be with. And you can meet people in your major. You can meet people once your rooms are assigned that are living in the same hall as you. You can do a ton of cool stuff with meeting a bunch of people.
Awesome. So we also have a few more questions from our viewers. Thanks, guys. So one of our viewers wants to know that this particular person is interested in cybersecurity, and they were wondering how difficult it is or was to find internships in the area, and does the school provide tools for internships? So Haley, do you mind speaking a little bit to the internship process at Champlain?
Yeah. I know it's a little bit different for every major, but Champlain definitely does a really great job of giving you the resources to search around and, network and meet people to get those internships. So for example, we actually just had our career fair for the spring, and there was tons of employers and organizations and companies that were here looking for Champlain students to have internships. So they had all the positions there. You could talk to them. There were sometimes alumni too who have worked there. So really great resources. There's lots of online resources like JobSpot that the school provides to us that we get access to, and we can search specifically for the types of internships in our field. But yeah, there's lots of great resources that are on campus. And then of course you will have your career coach who will email you different internships and give you suggestions on things to apply to. So there's really a lot of great resources, and if you are willing, I think you'll definitely not have a problem finding one.
Dylan, do you want to speak a little bit to the on-site interview process?
Sure. So definitely, as Haley mentioned, there's tons of opportunities to talk to future employers. With career fairs, we have on-site interviews, which typically are various vendors and employers kind of going around telling our career coaches, we have X amount of jobs available, and they'll just kind of reserve a couple conference rooms on campus, do some on-site interviews, and a lot of students have actually found internships and even their careers through that sort of process. So these companies are definitely looking for Champlain students, and so if you use the resources, they'll definitely be helpful for you.
Champlain has such an amazing name in the community, so finding internships is always an exciting process for both us and the employers. So that's a really exciting perk of coming to Champlain and benefiting from the internship process. And this is another question that you are more than welcome to ask of current cybersecurity students or the faculty that you meet at admitted student days. They'll be able to share particular experiences that they have had recently and also in the past, and faculty advisors can speak to how they can help you through that process as well. So we also had a question regarding roommates. When do you hear about roommates? And so I have a current RA here on the chat, and I would love for Emily to speak a little bit about when do you hear about roommates and what does that process look like?
Yeah, sorry, the light just turned off. So you hear about roommates in August. It's close to the end of the summer. It's close to when you come to school. So if you're in the summer and you're a little bit nervous about not finding out yet about your roommate, it doesn't usually happen until the end of August. So don't worry if you're like, it's the summer, it's like June, you're waiting, it's July, you're waiting, you still haven't heard anything. It's usually in August that you find out. And then by August, when you do find out, you'll be able to message your roommates if they, use Facebook, or you'll get their email, and then you can interact with your roommates before coming to campus. So if you're concerned or nervous about not really knowing them before you move in, you can definitely reach out to them prior to move-in date. Also, you can, if you meet someone during Admitted Students Day, I know a lot of my past residents have met people at Admitted Students Day and then have requested them to be their roommates. So Admitted Students Day is also a place where you can network to find your future roommate if that is something you're interested in.
Nice. So we also have one more question about Admitted Students Day in particular. Is the April event very important? And so who else would like to touch upon how great that experience was for them and how beneficial it was for you to come as an admitted student? And we've talked a lot about the awesome opportunities that you have there. And I know as an incoming first year, it really helped mollify my fears. But does anybody else have anything to say about Admitted Students Day and how beneficial it is for incoming students?
I can talk about that. I mean, it's what we've all been saying. You get to meet new people, you get to see the campus and all that again. But it's honestly just also a lot of fun. Like Haley was saying, I think there are a lot of really cool events that get going on, especially on the Friday. So if you can make it up for that, definitely go to that. And it's just a great time.
So another question we have from a viewer, thanks guys, this is awesome, is when do we get our class scheduled? Do we register for it or is it given to us? So Dylan, do you want to talk a little bit about first year schedules, when they get it, if they register or if it's handed out to them?
Sure. So it definitely depends on the major for as far as schedules and kind of time frame on those. But that being said, for your first semester of your first year, you will be given your schedule. And then once you're on campus, come time for your spring semester's registration, you'll have a meeting with your faculty advisor to address kind of the path you want to go down. So that's if you want to start, declaring your minor, specialization, if you want to study abroad, all this sort of stuff you start planning out with them, and they'll start your course registration for the following semester and then plan it out for as many semesters as you would like to go through.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Those were great questions. And I think it helps inform the process of what this summer and what leading up to school looks like for you all. So something else that's really interesting coming in as a first year is, what do you pack for school? What do I bring to my dorm or my residence hall? What is it that I need to live at school? And so Emily, Charlie, we can start with you and just talk about what are some things that you are so glad you brought to school? What are things that you definitely needed first year? And what are some things where you you definitely could have gone without?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that helped me freshman year, or the thing I forgot to bring the most, was storage. I would think about how are you going to put things away when you're in your dorm room. I think the rooms are pretty small. So my first year coming in, I didn't really think about storage until I already moved in, and then realized I didn't have any space for anything. So before you come, I think a really important thing to think about is where you're going to store some things. Like, how are you going to fit all the, suitcases, the boxes you bring? Where are you going to fit all of those? Just because it's such a small, tiny, compact room, I think storage was probably my biggest the thing I didn't think about the most, and the thing I wish I did think about the most. I think another thing that's really overlooked is a fan. Burlington gets really hot in the summer. And so when you first move in August, it is really hot in these first year residence halls. So bring a fan. Even if it's like a box fan or a small fan, you're going to want to bring a fan. That's just another thing that I didn't bring, and kicked myself because I didn't bring it. And then I would say the last thing that I think most residents really enjoy bringing is a mini fridge. I think it's not something that you need, but definitely something that is appreciated in your dorm room. And then for things not to bring, I would say everything that's on the list of what not to bring to Champlain, don't bring it. As an RA, we get to see everything you bring into the hall, and we take everything out if it doesn't belong. So things like candles, or things like hot plates or tea kettles, don't bring those in, because your RA will see them, and your RA will just take them right away. So Champlain does give out a list of what is and is not acceptable here. Don't even bother trying to bring things that aren't acceptable, because then you just won't get them at all.
Yeah, I mean, Emily pretty much covered it. The biggest thing I was going to say is definitely if you have a trunk, bring it, because it's storage space, but we already talked about that. If it hasn't been told to you 2,000 times, bring shower shoes. Just do it. Like, just bring like a crappy pair of flip-flops. It'll be great. You'll have a really good time. Something else that I didn't actually pick up until my junior year, but was really great, was a memory foam pad for my chair. Because the chairs at Champlain are wood, and if you're sitting at your desk a lot of the time to do work, it was a great thing for me. It probably cost $10. If you work in your bed, obviously that's not a big deal. And in terms of what not to bring, I remember I brought probably everything I thought I would need ever the first year I came to Champlain, and so I had stuff that I didn't touch the whole year. I had brought, I think, like a ton of like card games that I could play. I brought like PS4. I brought just tons and tons of stuff. I didn't even have a TV, and I brought a PS4. So just really look at what you're bringing and think, do I need this, or do I just want it?
Yeah, and just to add to that a little bit, on the almost less practical side, I guess, one thing that I didn't even quite think to bring, I know a lot of people, this might be their priority, but just memories from home, like photos and decorations for your room and stuff. I know some people might think it's a little corny, and you might think, oh, are other people really going to bring photos of their family and things like that? And they will. So I think you'll regret it if you wanted to and then you didn't. So don't forget to decorate your room, bring your lights, whatever you want to, just make it feel more homey. Yeah, that's about it.
And I know for me, like the biggest thing was recognizing what am I bringing, like kind of like everybody's touched upon, kind of laying out everything in front of you, understanding, okay, this is what I want to bring to school. My recommendation is to look at that list and cut it in half, because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to use any of the stuff. Like, you don't need to bring your entire wardrobe from home, especially if you plan on, going home for breaks or anything like that. You don't need to bring every article of clothing, because chances are you're only going to wear the same outfits. And so that was definitely one thing for me, that I didn't have to bring the entire house, including the kitchen sink. Like, legitimately, I only needed certain things. So going through and just recognizing you only need certain things to survive.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I am a notorious overpacker, so I had that problem too, Dylan. So we have a few more questions from our viewers. One is, how cold does it get in Vermont? Any advice for out-of-state or international students? Haley, do you want to take the lead on this one, and then we can just go straight down like we were before?
Yeah, definitely. I'm from New Hampshire, so it wasn't that big of a shock weather-wise for me. New England, still pretty unpredictable, but I was used to it. So I'd say the worst thing that most people complain about in Burlington is the wind. We it is pretty chilly, so the wind chill gets pretty bad, but we actually don't get quite as much snow as the surrounding few miles outside of Burlington because of the lake. But that being said, one of the things that you want to add to your list if you are bringing everything in the fall and aren't going home to get your winter clothing, bring snow boots. I think you'll regret it if you don't. That was one thing, again, I'm from New Hampshire, but I didn't really think, I was like, who's really going to bring snow boots? But that is one thing that you would want to bring, and have a warm jacket, or make sure you buy one in the fall. So be prepared, but there's lots of fun things to do in the winter. So I think that you'll still find you have fun things to do, and it's not miserable, but it does get cold.
Anybody else have anything? Go ahead, Charlie.
Sorry. I think Haley really hit the nail on the head, but something else I would definitely say to bring is like a really, really good winter coat. Like it does get cold, and it stays cold for a long time. And I know even right now in April, it's pretty chilly out, and I'm still wearing my winter jacket. So if you live in out of state and you don't really deal with the cold weather that much, or if you're an international student and you live somewhere tropical, first of all, I'm jealous. Invite me to your house. Second of all, definitely invest in some winter coat, because it is definitely one of the biggest necessities here at Champlain.
And I'll just add one more thing to that about the winter coats. If you're worried about spending money on winter gear, there's at least 1 or 2 stores right downtown that sell used stuff. So I know I got a winter jacket that was probably originally sold for like $400 for like $40. So you can still get a good winter jacket for a decent price. So don't stress about that.
So something else that a student is wondering, Charlie touched upon this a little bit, but we have students coming to our admitted events. What's the weather like right now? Can we share a little bit about what to expect? It's a little unpredictable, but what are we seeing currently?
Yeah, I guess I'll keep talking about the weather right now. It's chilly, but it's not freezing. It's been a little windy recently. There's still snow on the ground, but you don't need snow boots. It's not that much snow. It's just the remnants from the last snowstorm we had. Yeah, bring like a fall outfit, I guess I would say. It's even though it's spring, maybe a spring outfit would be better. I don't know. It's cold, but not too cold. I'd say like 40 Fahrenheit. So yeah.
I'd say something to add to. Definitely just prepare for all types of weather. You don't know what you're going to necessarily get, but it could be, kind of spring/winter on the Friday, Saturday. You never really know. So just, recognizing, get something that's comfortable, that you can wear in both rain, and hopefully, we're going to knock on wood here, no snow, but it has happened before. So just prepare for anything, check the weather before you come up. But other than that, yeah.
Awesome. And one thing that really has helped me, I know all of New England experiences this, but in Vermont, you really do experience all 4 seasons in one day sometimes. So having layers and just being prepared for whatever Mother Nature decides to throw at you that day is super helpful. So we have one more question, a follow-up question about an internship, cybersecurity internship that we had earlier. But this student is wondering, are you able to use these resources to find internships when you get to Champlain, or are these restricted to upperclassmen?
All right, so definitely these experiences are something you can get across all divisions, all majors, all years. And so some of my greatest memories with the Career Collaborative have been in my first year. Just using my career coach, for example, he provided me with over 20 different resources to reach out to different companies and stuff like that in the various areas that I was looking at. So I was able to find those internships very easily and quite quickly. And they also helped me with resume building, my LinkedIn, pretty much everything professional I was helped with. And every single year, you're able to use that.
So another question about college life and what it's like to be a student at Champlain. What can you do during free time when all your work is completed? So what are some options on campus? How might they learn about these at Admitted Students Day and during orientation? How are these resources that we provide admitted students going to help our students understand how are they going to use their free time at school?
Yeah, I could start that one off. So there's a lot of things to do on campus and off. I would say at Admitted Students Day, you will see there'll be a fair that has, different clubs and organizations on campus that you can get involved in. We, of course, have intramurals and lots of other fun fitness-related activities. So there's always something to be doing. I think that was one of the biggest differences for me coming from high school to college was still just as busy and, the work was hard, but you're on your own time. So you really get to choose what you do in your free time. You're not just going to school and going home. And yeah, it's all on campus, or you can go downtown. I think that you won't find that you're bored, especially in Burlington. So.
Yeah, and in addition to all that, you're in these great residence halls when you're a first year. So you get to hang out with all the people in your residence halls. And when you're not in class, chances are there are going to be people in your residence hall that aren't in class. So you can go leave your doors open, walk around your hall and see whose doors are open and go chat with all the people who you're living with.
Yeah, also there's a crazy amount of events that happen on campus. I'm also a student activities planner, and we do events every Friday and Saturday night, as well as Thursday nights. So there's always events happening on campus. I even say your RA has to plan 3 events a month, and so that's even happening in your residence hall. So you can totally go in your residence hall, get your friends that live there with you, and go to an event put on by your RA, or go to one that's on campus. I think our campus is really great with that kind of stuff just because there's always programming going on. So like even if it's a Friday or Saturday, it's totally okay just to go into Fireside. Usually there's food. There's like a lot of crafts. There's a lot of fun things. I just did a Guitar Hero night and it was a blast. So there's just always events happening on campus, especially at night. So it's never a dull moment, I would say, on Champlain's college campus.
Awesome. And as you're coming to school, think about what you're passionate about, what you want to continue, or if you have something that you've never done before and you think it's pretty cool and you want to try it. We have a rock climbing club on campus, and coming into school, I'd never tried it before, but I thought that was a pretty cool thing to do. So I went and I joined the club, and I was able to go climb with some people, meet new friends. So get involved, take advantage of the activities fair at Admitted Students Day, or if you're not able to go to that, also if you are able to go, take advantage of the one that's at the beginning of the year in August, because that will give you some opportunities to get involved on campus, meet new people. It's an awesome way to start off your first year and continue on throughout your time at Champlain. So we've talked a little bit about Admitted Students Day. We've hinted at the idea of orientation in August. We've talked about what to pack. So I would like Haley and Dylan and Charlie and Emily to share how their orientation experience at Champlain helped them as an incoming first year. So what was really positive about it? What kinds of things did you really love? And we can start with Emily and go on.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing about orientation weekend is there are a lot of things happening back to back. And so sometimes that can be a little overwhelming, especially because you just moved here. But I think it's a really great experience because it definitely allows you to meet every other first year. I know like as an RA, orientation weekend is just a very quiet weekend in the hall just because there's so many things happening. And I always push for my residents to go to every single thing that's happening during orientation weekend, because even though it might seem like you don't want to go, I think it's really important to kind of get out there, meet new people. Even if you and your roommates decide to go and just hang out at those events, those are really important. I know they do like a boat cruise on Friday, and that's a lot of fun if you're trying to have fun. I think like if you go with some of your roommates and you just have fun and there's dancing going on, you can definitely meet some new people and make lifelong friendships from that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, some of my best memories from Champlain are from those 3 days of orientation. It's a whirlwind. It's a lot of things happening at once. Like Emily said, there's events all the time, but you really you learn a ton of stuff that you need to know. You get to meet a ton of new people. There are social events and informational events, and it really just like helps you kind of bring yourselves together as a class, which I think is really cool.
And definitely, like we have definitely touched upon throughout all of it, it's just a really great experience. I definitely encourage everyone to go to orientation. Like Emily said, like you may not necessarily feel like you want to go to all the events, but just go out and do all of them. I know for a lot of students, this is like the first major time they've like left home. And especially since, you know, your parents, you know, drop you off with all your stuff and then you're like, all right, what's next? You kind of, you know, some students may feel like they're by themselves. And that's why I think it's good to go to these orientation events and find, you know, your new friend group and just kind of get to meet all the different students in the same situation.
Yeah, and then I think the last thing that I would say is that orientation weekend is the best weekend to get to know the people in your hall, because the way Champlain does it is you are in an orientation group with all the students that you're living with. So like I said, I mean, you're living in a house, so you're already gonna have that good community, especially once you move on campus. But orientation weekend there's a lot of icebreakers, and you really get to know everyone's names and get to know your roommate better too if you haven't had the opportunity to do that yet. So definitely recommend going to orientation. I think you'll find that the first day of classes, you already have a few friendly faces on campus. So it'll be really good.
And really quickly, Charlie and Emily, you have also been on the other side of orientation. So you've been able to see as an orientation leader or a resident advisor how these programs help facilitate a positive transition into the Champlain community. Can you speak a little bit about how your role within orientation weekend helps our current students, our incoming first year students, come to Champlain with open arms? So we can start with Charlie and then on to Emily.
Yeah, so as an orientation leader, you lead the group of people from one hall or sometimes half of the hall, and it's really great. It's just you kind of get to facilitate people meeting each other, and it is a lot of icebreakers. I know that's very much an orientation cliche, but it's very true. It's just icebreakers all the time. But that's kind of what you need. You have to meet all the people in your hall, and there's some people who are more outgoing than others, and it's kind of facilitating the meeting between all of that. But I've definitely seen from being an orientation leader that you can see people start to become friends during orientation, and like the events that you're having, just people like talking afterwards and meeting the people in their hall and all that. It's been really heartening actually to see it all happen.
Yeah, and I would say as an RA, I think the community building is a lot slower just because like I'm not just there for the weekend, and so the OLs are just spending the entire weekend revving you up, playing all those games, doing all those icebreakers, and so you're with them, I would say, most of the weekend. Usually you don't really see your RA all that much orientation weekend. I would say that the relationship building with your RA and with your community inside the hall is a lot slower after orientation weekend, but I think that's not always a bad thing just because you're living with them. I know like as an RA, we do big events like right at the beginning of the year that kind of get you out of your rooms, kind of bring you together. And it doesn't always necessarily happen that orientation weekend, but it happens really soon. So like, for example, this year I did this fun event that was that first week. And it was really nice hopping right off of what the OLs had already done and kind of bringing the community back together and being like, hey, talk to me about orientation weekend. Like, how did that go? What kind of games did you play with your OLs? I think that really helps just because I'm going to see you guys, or the RA will see you every single day, but that orientation weekend's really that first dive into hanging out with everyone and playing those games.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing your personal experiences as incoming students a few years ago, as well as OLs and RAs. So we have a few more viewer questions. One is, what is the grind like, and how is the community and surrounding areas outside of campus? What is that like? What kinds of things are there to be involved with?
So I know as far as off-campus community Burlington things, there's lots of really fun shows and concerts to go to. In the fall, they have what's called the Art Hop, which is right downtown. And I know some students, their professors for core will actually ask them to do it as an assignment and go check out all the art, and you kind of walk around. The weather's still nice at the time of year, so really great experience in the fall. And then there's always concerts happening in Burlington. Higher Ground is one of the really popular venues that bigger names and smaller names will come to, and then there's little venues downtown. So I think Burlington's actually a really great music scene. And then as far as the grind, that's on campus every Wednesday night. So you can go see your friends sing or do comedy or make animal noises or whatever their talent is. I haven't personally done any talent, at the grind, but I don't know if anyone else has and they want to talk about their experiences. But
so I personally have never done the grind. I've definitely watched it a few times, and I think my favorite memory was going for Disney karaoke night. I've never seen the school get so excited for such an event. I don't know, it was just such a great event to just, the entire Student Life Center was just, full of people. We're all singing, Lion King, High School Musical, you name it, we were definitely singing it. And so it's just a really great way to kind of show off your talent if you do have one. Even if you don't have one, that's fine too. You get a free t-shirt for participating, so it's definitely worth it. Free stuff's always the best stuff in my opinion, but definitely in the surrounding area, I'm a huge fan. So, because we're in a college town, there's a lot of, sports in the surrounding schools, especially at UVM. The University of Vermont has a lot of great sports. I personally love hockey, and of course, they have hockey games going on during the colder months, so it definitely is a great way to interact with other students in the area, and also to get off campus.
Yeah, also the Grind is a really great community. I know a lot of people that go to the Grind usually go every single Wednesday, and so even if you're not performing, you're just watching. Usually it's the same amount of people that are there watching, and so you kind of get to know people if you're going every single Wednesday. Like I know my freshman year I would go every single Wednesday and definitely made some friends just by watching. I never performed, but I definitely made some friends just by watching and hanging out, and they have free food, and it's just a nice atmosphere. And then I would say for downtown, the food scene is crazy here. All the restaurants are really good. I know I spent a lot of my first year just eating out at like downtown just because all the restaurants are so good, and the food scene is really amazing here. And then I would also say Saturday mornings, there's the, oh my goodness, what is it called? Someone help me. Dylan.
Farmers market.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't think of that. The farmers market. And that's always fun. There's always, I feel like, new things kind of every Saturday, and it's definitely a fun atmosphere to go and explore that too, even if you're not going to buy anything, or even if you do. There's a lot of like little trinkets you can buy, or like they have maple lemonade, and it's really good. So I would say there's plenty of stuff happening downtown, even on weekdays and on weekends.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much been most of it. The one thing I'll add is if the food scene gets an A, the coffee scene gets an A+. There are some great coffee shops downtown, which especially if, like me, you love going downtown to a coffee shop to get some work done, I would definitely recommend exploring a place that isn't Starbucks, although there is a Starbucks right on Church Street, which is great, and I go a lot. Yeah, Muddy Waters is great. Try the Muddy Shake if you can during your time here. It's really, really good. So
great. Thanks for sharing your experiences off campus as well. One thing that I also really want to touch upon is that within Burlington, you have virtually everything you need within walking distance, which coming in as a first year was extremely helpful and comforting. If I needed something from a pharmacy, I could walk downtown. There's a CVS right on Church Street. There's a Rite Aid right on Church Street. So everything is right there at the tip of your fingertips. It has a great accessibility, and it's awesome. It's super helpful. So we have another question in regards to language. If we want to continue learning a foreign language, who would we talk about that with? And this person in particular wants to learn French. So my minor is foreign languages. I studied French and Spanish. And so you have a faculty advisor that helps you figure out how this fits into your schedule and figures out how you go about taking a placement exam to see which level you fit into. And we have a relationship with other colleges in the area where if you end up finishing the French classes or whatever language you decide upon within Champlain's campus, you're able to go to a partnership school and take those language classes as well. So you can make it a minor or just take it as electives, whichever you choose. So that's definitely an option. And there's the supports at our campus to help you get that. We have a few more questions. When do you sign up for work study? So over the summer, you can start applying for jobs. And there's also a job fair at the beginning of the school year, which you can attend as well. And that will help you get your work study in order, and you can look for what's available on campus, as well as JobSpot. That's another place that is available. We've mentioned it for internships, but other stuff is posted on there as well. And when's the move-in date? So the move-in date for this semester is the weekend of August 24th. And I'm going to have Emily talk a little bit about what that process looks like from an RA standpoint, and also because we've all moved in before. So I'm going to have Emily chat about that.
Yeah, I would say move-in happens at 8 a.m. on that Friday, if it's Friday this year. I think sometimes it can change. But you'll move in on 8 a.m. And how that looks is basically you'll pull up at front of your residence hall. There's going to be a moving crew, and this moving crew will help you kind of take things out of your vehicle and help you move all that stuff in. How that looks is basically you'll go into a front table and you'll sign in with your RA and your OLs, and then your RA will bring you upstairs to your bedroom. They'll give you your ID card. Then you'll be able to move all your things in right there with the help of the moving crew. I would say it gets busy. There's a lot of people moving at the same time, so just be aware of that. There's going to be a lot of people in the same space. And then right after move-in, around noon is when lunch happens, and then the rest of the day is really busy with orientation things. So the time you really spend in your residence hall, I would say, is from 8 to noon, and the rest of the day is pretty busy. So you're going to want to make sure you're there early enough that you can move everything in without having to worry about finishing that process later at night, just because your Friday is really full of things that are mandatory for you to attend. So the earlier you show up, the better for move-in day. But it's a lot of fun, and it is, I don't know, definitely a whirlwind of everything happening at once.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily, for sharing that standpoint as an RA. So we have one more question. What time do you suggest showing up? So I'm assuming this is about admitted student stays, and if not, feel free to add a clarification statement. However, so for admitted student stays on Friday, the events, we're hoping that you could get here by 5 p.m. preferably, so that you can take full advantage of the events and programming that we have for you. And then also on Saturday, check-in starts at 7:30 at Lakeside, and our introduction at the Flynn will start around 8:30 or 9, between those time frames. So that's about admitted student stay. Hopefully that answered your question. If not, go ahead and add a clarification if it was about something else there. Thanks for your questions. So we also have a question regarding, is it possible to stay in the residence halls after the May deadline? Does somebody have experience with that where they can speak to what that would look like, or have they done it themselves in the past?
I can. So there is summer housing in select buildings on campus. For example, we are just opening up one right now. It's 194 St. Paul Street, and it is apartment style living. Usually the apartment style living is the housing that you can have over the summer. There's definitely a few other housing options if you are someone who is staying for a job or someone who is staying for classes. Usually if you're trying to stay on campus and you're not already living in the apartment style housing, I'm pretty sure you need to be either having a job or taking a class to stay. Dylan, can you confirm?
Yeah, so pretty much that's all it is that you just have to have either an on or off campus job or internship, or be taking, I think it's a minimum of 2 or 3 classes. I don't know the exact specifics, but you just have to be somewhat involved. And then around usually this time every year, they'll send out an email saying, who wants to sign up for summer housing. And then students will just do that. It's an application-based process. And then based on that, they'll see whether or not they're approved for summer housing.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily and Dylan. So now that we're still on the topic of housing, I would like for each of my panelists to just go and share what your favorite thing about first year housing was. What was the thing that made your experience the most positive at Champlain in our residence halls, in our beautiful mansions? So Charlie, do you want to start first?
Yeah, sure. My favorite thing about my residence hall was that I actually lived in a quad, which when I first got the news that I was living in a quad, I was actually a little upset about it because it was more people than I had ever lived in one room with, and I was doing it for a whole year and I didn't know any of them. But I had a great quad, and I had a great experience just with all my roommates and living together with all them and learning how to live together while learning how to be at college and just kind of struggling through that together. One of my best friends freshman year was definitely one of my roommates, and he and I, even though he's no longer at the school, he and I still talk all the time, and it's been a real great experience meeting him. And I would definitely say that your roommates are probably your best in into the social life at Champlain. So my roommates were my best experience with my housing situation.
Yeah, I can talk about my experience too. I lived with my roommate for my first year for first and second year, so we obviously got along really well and had a great experience. And I think, again, just reiterating, living in the house, it's so fun. Everyone keeps their doors open, and it's really just great to just hang out with everyone at different hours and see everyone's rooms. And being in a house, every room is a little bit different. So I know my room like had a fireplace, obviously not functioning, but different little things like that. And the windows were really large and the ceilings were high. So I really, really loved my room and decorating it with my roommate and getting to know all the other people in my house and doing things together like on campus. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Honestly, living in the house is like a second family. Everyone literally becomes a family to you. I would say the community built in this residence hall your first year is probably the strongest community you'll see throughout all 4 years at Champlain. I think, like, for my experience, most of my friends have come from like my first year hall here at Champlain, just because you spend all your time with them. And honestly, I would come home and there would be someone in the common room at any given time. And we would all hang out in the common room at any given time of the day. And you just build such quick relationships with people you live with. So I would say the community was probably the best part for me. It also helps, I think, with that big transition because you're kind of nervous to come to school, but when you're accepted in such a big community so quickly, it really makes a difference. It really helps, I would say.
And definitely, we've all kind of covered it, but definitely it is that second family. I lived in a hall that was about 40 students, and like I was always meeting new faces those first couple of weeks. I definitely encourage everybody to have the door, wide open if you're home. It's the best way to meet new people. And not to mention, even if you're sitting in class, because every single room is going to look different, you could literally be talking to, if I just met Emily, hey, can I go check out your room? Because I know it's different over there in like Shillhammer or something like that. And just, it's a really like interesting segue. It's just kind of like you need to get a little bit more, find your place at Champlain and get to meet those new people.
Great, thanks for sharing those experiences. It was fun to hear them. So, clarification about what time to show up. Orientation. So, the halls open at 8 a.m. and there's, like Emily mentioned, there's a lot of programming that happens during that day. So it's advised that you show up early so you can get your room situated and get everything settled that needs to be settled. If there's any last minute things you need to take care of to have your ducks in a row and be ready for orientation, it's advised that you show up early. The residence halls open at 8 and then you'll be good to go. And you can't move in before 8. So just something to keep in mind. They open at 8. Okay. So I have one last question for the panelists before we sign off for the night, but I have a few reminders that I wanted to make sure I mention. So the deadline for depositing is May 1st. So mark that on your calendars. Remember that deadline. May 1st is the last day that you can send in your deposit. And I also just wanted to reiterate the dates for our admitted students days. So it is this Friday and Saturday is the first one. So April 6th, we have the mingling from 5 to 7. And then April 7th, we have the event that goes further throughout the day. And it's from around, you can start checking in at 7:30 down at Lakeside, and then it's until about 3:30. So from 7:30 to 3:30, you'll have some time with your parents, some time alone with some other admitted students, but don't worry, you're not alone. I might have said that, but you have orientation leaders around, there's student ambassadors, tons of people on campus to make you feel comfortable. So May 1st is the deadline for depositing, and then April 6th and 7th is this weekend. The following weekend, April 13th and 14th. So those are some important dates to keep in mind as you are looking towards your next step as an admitted student. I want my panelists to share one last answer to one last question with our viewers. Thank you again for sending in so many questions so we could personalize this live stream for you all. So I'm wondering, what is one piece of advice that you would like to share with the incoming first years regarding their next steps and this transition ahead of them? So if we can start with Haley and then move on down. So what's one thing that you can share as a piece of advice?
Yeah, so I think, and you'll hear this if you've had a tour or if you have a tour on Saturday, I think a lot of students will say that really picturing yourself on campus when you come visit here, um, not just your academic sessions, obviously all those details are really important, making sure you do your research on the school and they have the right courses and the major that you want, but really just thinking about Burlington or wherever the school is. And if you like that you can do things downtown, or you like that there's a certain club that they have, or that you can start your own club, just making sure that you can really picture yourself here and you make that decision for yourself and for no one else. And I think that that's really important. It seems obvious, but really do that when you come to visit campus, and hopefully you'll be here Friday and Saturday to do that. So
definitely to add on to that, finding your, various aspects of where you want to go to on campus is huge. And I know for me, like, this is something that I've definitely changed my mindset, and like Champlain's motto of, audiamus is what it is in Latin. So let us dare is what that translates to. And just going in and realizing that, sometimes you have to take some risks in order to get the best reward. And so, stepping out of your comfort zone is a huge thing you need to do when you go to school. And so I think with that mindset, you'll be able to try some new things that maybe you've never tried before. Like if you want to start rock climbing, definitely go rock climbing. Even if you have that slight little interest, that could actually be what makes the best experience for you.
Yeah, and kind of take a step back from that. My advice would definitely be to be realistic with yourself and what you can do. I know that when I first came to Champlain, I signed up for every club under the moon, and that is something that most people tend to do. And you have to be realistic with what you can do while getting all of your work done, and also just being comfortable being at school, because you can't stretch yourself too thin, because that's actually what I ended up doing my freshman year. So I would definitely say, think about what's really important to you. Definitely try new things, but if something doesn't work out, don't be afraid to take a step back from it.
Yeah, and I would say, I don't know, don't be afraid to dive in. I remember coming and I was definitely afraid. I was definitely someone who didn't want to take any risks. I was definitely someone who was just very unsure. Didn't want to sign up for things because I was unsure if I would feel comfortable. But I would say dive right in. Freshman year, I think, is that big year where diving in is probably easiest. Everyone's in the same boat as you. Everyone's new. Everyone doesn't really know what they're doing yet. No one really has any clue of what's going on. So even if people look like they do, they definitely don't. So do not be afraid to dive in. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out. There's definitely so many support systems around you anyway, and don't be afraid to use them. I know I definitely was, but they're there for you. So don't be afraid to just dive right in, enjoy your time here, and get to know new people without feeling worried about, I don't know, looking like you don't know what you're doing, because no one does.
Thank you so much. Thank you to my panelists for joining me tonight and helping answer the admitted students' questions. And for our viewers, thank you so much for sending in all those great questions. It definitely helped yourselves, but also other students who are viewing this live stream. Also, if you have additional questions that you didn't ask tonight or that pop up later on, feel free to email the admissions interns. It's admissionsintern@champlain.edu, and we can either get you to the people you need your questions answered by, or we can answer it with our personal experiences. We are very excited to host you for our admitted students events and answer these questions, get to know you, and welcome you to campus within these next few months. Best of luck. Congratulations. You guys will do great. And I'm just going to pass it back to Veronica for our final send-off. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, panelists, and thank you, viewers. And obviously, we had a lot of great questions, so thank you for interacting with us. Next week's live streams are airing. The next one is on Wednesday, April 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's called Champlain Housing, Your Home Away from Home. So I know we had a few housing questions today, but you definitely want to tune in next week to hear that, because we're going to hear from even more current students about their experiences living on campus, and as well hear from Melody Brooke, who is our Residential Life Operations Manager. So she is the expert, and she'll be available to answer all of your questions that you have about the housing process. As a reminder, this live stream And past live streams can be found on the Admitted Students page and on YouTube. As you know, our Admitted Student Days are this weekend and next on the 7th and the 14th. So we hope to see you on campus. If not, definitely get into the Facebook group, the Champlain College Class of 2022 Facebook group. You can get a lot of your questions answered there as well. And you can connect with your future classmates. So thank you again, everyone. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. Take care.